Hello. I flew all the way to the moon and back, but stuff still happened. So what's up? AI is up. Let's talk about Microsoft. Microsoft really wants you to use Copilot. Like, they really, really want you to use Copilot. And the good news for you is that you can't really avoid it, because if you use Windows or if your job uses Office 365, you just kind of have it. But that's great for you. Let me explain why it's great for you. Because then you're using Copilot by Microsoft. In a world full of ChatGPTs and Claudes and stuff, Microsoft's AI offering is called Copilot. And it's genuinely confusing because there are multiple different things that are all called different versions of Copilot. And I assume that that's just their general brand name. But in addition to it being a brand name, it is also a product. It's confusing. Copilot, to me, as somebody coming from a software engineering background, it refers to GitHub Copilot, which was like an AI assistant for helping to write code trained on code from GitHub. GitHub is owned by Microsoft, and that's gonna come up later. But that's what Copilot was to me. And then Copilot was also now a thing with Windows PCs. Microsoft has a thing where you can get an AI-ready Copilot Plus PC. I'm saying, there's just no rhyme or reason to this branding. So you've got Copilot Plus PC, GitHub Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. It's a mess. But that's what I want to talk about, is that it is a mess. And Microsoft has not been particularly good, especially recently, at reading the room. They have been on a generational tear of just L after L after L of just trying to cram in AI into everything. It very much seems like there's an order from the top that basically is like, hey, put AI into everything. And then we ended up with AI in Microsoft Paint and Notepad. The AI update to Notepad even added a vulnerability. And that's not even mentioning Recall, which is the feature that was announced a few years ago, where Windows is going to take a screenshot of everything you're doing on your computer to save it in a database for the AI to review later. When it was originally announced, basically every security researcher was like, this is an awful idea. And Microsoft was like, oh, you might have a point. We'll tweak it a bit. They did tweak it a bit. It's not that twoke, and it's still pretty bad. Asterisk. You don't really have to worry about that if you don't have one of those Copilot Plus PCs, to my knowledge. So as long as you don't have one of those, you're probably fine. Famously, people love to have permanent records of what they do on their personal computer. What's their browser history? I'm sorry. Now, you might be thinking, Microsoft is a big boy company with big boy money, and they must have a reason to be doing this. Surely it's the case that they're getting a good return on investment, and they're seeing gains in the market, and that this is going well for them. It's not. None of that. Not only do we have senior folks at Microsoft putting out a blog post being like, hey, everyone, sorry about ruining Windows. We're gonna be better about that going forward. It's not even the first time this year that they said, sorry about ruining Windows. We're gonna be better about that going forward. This is an operating system. It's like the base level thing that people have on their computer. It's not something you just fuck around with. And obviously, Windows sucks, and it kind of has sucked for a while. And a lot of people just use it for gaming, and other people use it because they have to for work or what have you. But a lot of people just don't know other systems, and they just use Windows machines. And that's fine. And it sucks that Microsoft is so bad to those people. It goes beyond just having AI crap in Windows. Because they're Microsoft and they can't help themselves, they recently launched a feature on their coding side of Copilot. The feature is called Tips. And what it did was insert ads into people's software development process. Crash course. I'm gonna make you a software developer real quick. When you're working on an app, let's say you're adding a feature or fixing a bug, the way that actually works is you do what's called checking out a copy of the code base, which is to say you have your own version of the app, and you work on that, and then you eventually merge that back in to the actual app. That merging process involves a sort of a ticket that you open up to basically say like, hey guys, I wanna merge in my stuff. Can someone review this? That ticket is often referred to as a merge request or a pull request. Now, that's all you gotta know. A software developer was using GitHub Copilot and said, hey, can you go make a merge request? Just go write something there. When they went to go read the merge request that Copilot had written, there was an ad in it. It was like, hey, hot tip, y'all, if you want to easily launch AI agents, you can use Raycast. Side note, I do really like Raycast. I don't really use it for AI stuff. It's just like a productivity launcher. Raycast is pretty sick. Kind of sucks that they're at the center of this story. So if you look at GitHub, which is again owned by Microsoft, and you do a search for the wording that was put into this merge request, you'll find thousands of merge requests with this same ad injected into it. Automated guerrilla marketing at scale that isn't particularly guerrilla. Anyway, that's awful. Don't do that, Microsoft. That's so obviously dumb and bad. If you want to hire me as senior executive revoker of terrible, obviously bad ideas, I'm available. Anyway, even with all of this, Copilot's not doing well. The adoption rate is abysmal and is probably mostly just people who have to use it because it's what their office is making them use. Adoption is around 2.5 to 3% of Windows users, and it's losing market share compared to other AI assistants like Google's Gemini, which I know exactly nothing about. I've never used it. Anyway, it's a skill issue because I annoy people to install certain software without having to be an artificial intelligence. Again, I'm available for hire. Hey, thank you so much for being here. If you like what I do and you want to help me keep this going and not filled with a bunch of dumb corporate sponsor stuff, you can head to isupport.dev where you'll find links to my Patreon, my Ko-Fi. There's a whole bunch of ways to support me, either monetarily or just commenting and sharing my stuff. Any kind of engagement really does help. So thank you again for being here. Let's move on. Let's talk about war. We're still doing it. We're still doing it. We are very much still at war with Iran, despite what our leadership wants to claim. In my limited experience on this planet, having a situation that is prolonged where you are exchanging munitions and losing service members on both sides generally constitutes a war. There's been a lot, and the reporting is not great, honestly. It's very rare that I'm going to sit here and be like, the mainstream media is hiding this from you. Because almost always that's not the case. You know, a lot of people rail against mainstream media and they're saying like, oh, no one's talking about this and so on and so forth, when in reality, they have articles about it. It's just that they're not floating to the top of algorithms because whatever reason. That reason could be because the algorithms are designed to keep certain things suppressed. That reason could be because people don't care about the story genuinely. And it's not until you find out later on and find out that you didn't learn about it in time that it feels like nobody was talking about it. In this case, it's kind of different. We are getting a very slim picture of what's going on across the world during a war right now. And it's very clear that everything that's coming stateside is like a week or more delayed and is highly editorialized by a US perspective. And like, duh, obviously. I don't take the words of any state official at face value. US, Israeli, Iranian, none of them. I'm trying to navigate this as best I can with the understanding that a lot of the reporting from US outlets is gonna be straight up wrong, but going with what I've got. So let's talk about what's going on with the war. 5 European nations have made a no-fly zone for the US, or at least a no-fly, or if you're gonna fly, it's gonna be annoying zone. Essentially, 5 different countries, for different reasons, have said in some capacity, no, you cannot use our airspace for your war. I'll go through them, and we'll talk a little bit about each. Spain says, get the fuck out. Spain's the hardest one here. They said, you're not using our airspace for this illegal war. Fuck you. They didn't say fuck you, but like, in terms of geopolitics, they said that. France is playing hard to get. They haven't fully shut down their airspace, but they are saying like, hey, Israel, you can't use our airspace to transfer weapons from the US and so on and so forth. So France is making it a little bit harder to use their airspace. Switzerland is neutral. I feel like I don't even need to say that one. They're doing the Switzerland thing, staying generally neutral and only letting a few aircraft through. Italy is a bit of a will they, won't they. They've closed the airspace for some cases. They denied the US from landing certain bombers there. So it's like airspace, but also ground space. And Austria is coming in hot. Just recently, they were like, we're going to go full Switzerland. They're citing neutrality laws and they're saying, yeah, no, you can't use our airspace. So that's fine. Kind of got to go around. Big ol' hole in the map. Speaking of airplanes, some of them went down. The Iranian military shot down a US F-15E fighter jet. Strike Eagle jet. There were 2 crew members aboard, a pilot and a weapons boy. The pilot ejected, as did the weapons boy. The pilot was rescued pretty shortly after ejecting. The weapons boy was rescued the next day after what the US would really like you to know was a daring rescue mission. The second airman was lost for quite some time and did have to do some personal heroics to stay alive. Also, we're bombing the fuck out of that country right now. It's really hard to sit here and be like, oh, this is a wonderful, uplifting story that we rescued this service member. Because, like, why are they there in the first place? During the rescue mission, an A-10 Warthog, another aircraft, went down also. But the pilot ejected and is apparently safe. According to US officials, other aircraft just took light fire and there was otherwise just like minor wounds and everybody's back safe. Iran claims it was a different situation. Iran claims that they shot down more planes than the US is saying, and they also claim that they took out 5 people. There's not a lot of details about that. Could be a lie. But also they shot down an F-15 after the US told us that we had total air superiority and basically took out all their defenses. So like lies are sort of the status quo here. Anyway, brace yourself for the movie in a decade or so. They're gonna do everything they can to make it look like, oh man, how could the Iranians have done this to us? Pete Hegseth. He is somehow the head of the Department of Defense. He wants to call it the Department of War. I'm not gonna call it that. I've spent my entire life surrounded by people who work in the DoD. I'm not gonna not be saying DoD. Anyway, dude sucks. I could just say, yeah, he sucks. Is that good enough? Do I have to say anything else? All right, I'll say what I got here. So in addition to the average run-of-the-mill Hegsethery that we've been seeing, there's been a bit of an increase in bullshit. I'll start with the one that doesn't matter as much to me, which is still pretty fucking dumb. Pete Hegseth personally got involved to get rid of an investigation into multiple US service members who flew a helicopter by Kid Rock's house for like a photo op for Twitter. I don't get it either. I didn't know people liked Kid Rock, but this is apparently like their thing now, is this one guy. So Kid Rock posts a video to Twitter of him waving at multiple Army helicopters, and he's like, God bless our troops. And then the Army was like, yeah, that ain't it. That's not good. Those people are now under investigation and suspended. Hegseth then chimed in and was like, no, I refuse, was his actual quote. His quote was, no punishment, no investigation. Carry on, patriots. What a cool guy. All the while, he has fired a whole bunch of generals during a war, including recently the chief of staff of the army. During a war. It's not something that you usually do. To top it all off, Financial Times reported that a financial broker for Pete Hegseth apparently tried to go to BlackRock and buy securities from a fund that invests in defense manufacturing right before the war started. The only reason it didn't go through is because the fund wasn't ready yet. The Pentagon denies the claim. Shocking. Ow, my data center. Iran has been striking data centers where US companies are operating. AWS, Amazon's web platform, has multiple regions that are just hard down right now. What was first reported as like fires at a facility and like structural damage has escalated into, hey, why is the entire region offline? Let's go back to some definitions. Again, you're a software engineer already, so you're going to get this no problem. It's actually really simple. AWS, Amazon Web Services. It is their internet platform. If you're a company that wants to build an internet service, you're probably going to build it on AWS, and they have like global infrastructure for tech stuff. That global infrastructure is located in a bunch of different regions so that you can have your stuff near your customers. If you want to do global business, you want to have global data centers. If you want to do business just in North America, you're probably just sticking to a North American data center. AWS offers a whole bunch of different data centers in different localities, and the ones around Iran are currently not working. ME Central 1 and ME South 1, which are Middle East Central and South locations, are both down. And this comes after those structural problems and small fires happened. Just taking a quick glance at like developer forums, you'll see people saying like, hey, I can't connect to the data center. What's going on here? Amazon says that it's currently just down. There's not really a restoration timeline for it. So like if you had stuff running in these data centers, you're just up shit creek. But that's meaningful because Amazon is a defense contractor. Amazon has dedicated data regions for government utility. Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle, all these companies, they all provide support to the US military, either directly in hosting their systems or indirectly by way of offering them support. So genuinely, like, AWS data centers are objectively military targets. I'll end this story by saying that the White House is now saying that for the 2027 fiscal year, they want to cut non-defense spending by 10% and increase defense spending by $500 billion. All right, better news. We went to the moon. We didn't go to the moon. We're going near the moon again. The Artemis 2 mission launched on the evening of April 1st. They went to the sky. They're going to go around the moon, come back, and sploosh back down by San Diego on April 10th. I am not in that spacecraft. The mission is interesting. They're just looping around the moon to basically be like, can we land on you later? You down with that? It's the second mission in the Artemis line, the first one being Artemis 1, which was an unmanned attempt to just go around the moon and be like, all right, can we still do this? We still got this juice. Turns out we had the juice. So we put 4 people on an aircraft and launched them into space, and they took a really, really cool picture. Leave it to an astronaut sending a picture back to Earth to make you be like, I am tiny and don't matter. It's truly, truly incredibly gorgeous. You can see multiple auroras. You can see the atmosphere. It's incredible. Of course, no space travel goes on without a hitch. In addition to having some toilet trouble in the capsule, they were also having some technical difficulties with Microsoft Outlook. At one point, one of the astronauts was futzing around with the computer and was talking to ground control and was like, I have 2 Outlooks and neither of them are working, which is just perfect. Just chef kiss. So a big old good luck. Here are the crew members. You got Reed Wiseman, commander. You got Victor Glover, who's the pilot. Christina Koch is a mission specialist. And Jeremy Hansen is the good luck Canadian. And also mission specialist. I want to note on the topic of space travel, I don't much care about the space travel part, personally. I mean, I played a lot of Destiny, so I'm kind of good with not going further out into space to see what's out there. But even if you're not somebody who just wants to see more space travel, this is actually a pretty good thing for humanity. In a way. The space shuttle and colonizing space, that's not what I'm talking about. These programs happen because countries want to do dick measuring contests and the ruling class wants to colonize more stuff. But if that's what it takes to get a bunch of money to go into research that produces some genuinely amazing shit, at least it's a silver lining. Aerospace engineering and research gets us a whole lot of stuff. Improvements in medical technology, improvements in refrigeration technology, improvements in desalination and water purification, all sorts of stuff. There are benefits outside of just going to space and like, that's cool. It sucks that it's also like kind of in the interests of bad people wanting to do bad things. Like they're just going to space because they want to mine it. That's basically it. But at least in the meantime, we have like better air conditioning. Lightning round. Oracle laid off 30,000 employees via email at 6 a.m. Here's the weather. SpaceX is filing to go public. It may ultimately be one of the biggest IPOs in history. Australia has formally recognized the cultural significance of the infamous succulent Chinese meal Democracy Manifest video.
Get your hand off my penis!
The National Film and Sound Archive has officially preserved it. Gold is now the largest foreign reserve asset in the world, overtaking US treasuries. It probably doesn't mean anything. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you're on the spaceship, because I can't be sure who is and who isn't. My name is Endeavorance. We'll talk again soon. Take care and be well.